The National Desk, America's News Now.
Breaking tonight, President Biden saying 14 American citizens have been killed in Israel, also confirming that at least 20 American citizens are missing, possibly taken hostage. The U.S. government is now working with Israel on hostage recovery efforts. This is a National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. The president sharing that update in the last few hours, addressing the nation after a lengthy call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, the death toll from the conflict skyrocketing over the past 24 hours. More than 1,000 people have died in Israel and at least 830 have been killed in Gaza. Israel has stopped entry of food, fuel, and medicines into the Palestinian territory. Meantime, horrific new reports coming in tonight. Israeli Defense Force soldiers making their way into some of the hardest hit communities, finding children, even babies, and the elderly murdered in their homes. The president did not tell Netanyahu to exercise restraint in his response. Tonight, new indications that the situation could escalate further. The National Desk has team coverage tonight. Christine Frizzell and Angela Brown are diving into how this is affecting life on the ground in the U.S. But we begin with Atra al-Nashar to break down the president's address and the country's next steps. A note to viewers, some of the descriptions of violence you're about to hear are disturbing.
President Biden calling attacks by Hamas pure, unadulterated evil and says it's time to be clear the United States stands with Israel.
And we will make sure Israel has what it needs to take care of its citizens, defend itself, and respond to this attack.
The president recounting the brutality against civilians.
Stomach-turning reports of babies being killed, entire families slain.
Israeli Defense Forces speaking to reporters at a kibbutz attacked by Hamas.
They killed parents, and we found babies between the dogs and the family that killed before him. They cut head of the people.
And by Tuesday evening, the Palestinian Ministry of Health reported 260 children were among the 900 killed during Israel's retaliatory airstrikes. The president did not address criticism from Republicans who claim so far without evidence that Iran was able to help Hamas because of a recent deal the administration made with Iran to release 5 wrongfully detained Americans in exchange for the transfer of $6 billion in frozen Iranian aid.
We should look back at the breadcrumbs that lead back to the hostage negotiation that freed $6 billion. And what did Tehran say about the $6 billion? We will use it in any way we like.
The White House stands by the terms of the deal that the money can only be used for humanitarian purposes.
I think it's important for people to remember that not a single dinar of those funds has gone into Iran, not one.
The president says he'll ask lawmakers to take action to fund the national security needs of critical partners when they return to Washington. The Senate is back next week and the House is back Wednesday, but its first order of business will be electing a new speaker. In Washington, I'm Atra al-Nashar.
Another breaking development, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will travel to Israel this week. He's expected to leave tomorrow night, arriving on Thursday. Blinken will meet with senior Israeli officials to determine the best ways for the U.S. to support them. Israel estimates that Hamas is holding as many as 150 hostages in Gaza. Among them are citizens of several countries, including the U.S. A defense official telling CNN that the U.S. has offered assistance for any hostage rescue effort that would include special operations planning and intelligence gathering. Today, the loved ones of missing Americans gathered, many of them overcome by emotion.
And it is our hope, which is a little bit ridiculous at this stage to say that the optimistic scenario here is that she's held hostage in Gaza and not dead on the street of the kibbutz where we grew up.
That's Nahal Neta. His mother is still missing, and he's urging the U.S. to take aggressive action to bring hostages home. This as Hamas's military wing said the group would kill a civilian hostage every time an airstrike hits Gazans in their homes without warning first. Tonight, many still wondering how Hamas was able to plan and execute this attack. It's been called a colossal intelligence failure in Israel, and it's now prompting questions about how so much was missed there and also about what could be missed here in the United States. National correspondent Christine Frizzell reports.
The surprise terrorist attack on Israel by Hamas militants was pre-planned and well coordinated, shaking those inside the country to the core.
We have the most advanced and sophisticated military in the world. This is the most amount of Jews that have been murdered in a single day since the Holocaust.
The failure of both Israeli and American intelligence to detect the attack ahead of time, unleashing warnings here at home.
We need an immediate assessment of our own areas of weakness and a glaring weakness in our own southern border.
Former Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy pointing to the official numbers released by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, with arrests of those on the terror watch list so far at 154, a sharp increase from 98 the year before, 16 the year before that, and just 3 in 2019 and 2020.
Why are they coming to America? What do they have planned? And who are they communicating with?
Those questions should have been asked far more in the months leading up to 9/11, according to the 9/11 Commission, which laid out countless examples of missed threats and vulnerabilities, including at our border.
The restrictions that the 9/11 Commission recommended and that were actually implemented following the terrorist attacks with respect to immigrants have almost all been abandoned. For U.S. citizens, we still live in a post-9/11 world. At the border, we don't.
Critics of the Biden administration's border policies say those policies don't appear to consider external threats from terrorists around the world. The White House pushing back.
We continue to remain vigilant about terrorist threats to the homeland from anywhere.
Concerns are also making their way into the immigration debate here on Capitol Hill and also on the campaign trail. Some presidential candidates even suggesting that we start to think about using our military to better secure our border. Amira?
And Christine, any indication of changes in border policy perhaps by the Biden administration because of what has happened in Israel?
Not at this point. We did see last week an announcement that the Biden administration would allow for 20 additional miles of border barrier to be constructed, but that was unrelated to this. Right now, we're hearing from Republicans who want a complete and total reassessment of border policy, with some even saying that we need to devote a lot more resources to figuring out who has already entered the country who may have connections to terrorist organizations.
All right, Christine Frizzell, thank you for that reporting. We are going to be following developments on this story throughout the evening. You can stay up to date 24/7 on thenationaldesk.com, and you can also join us again for the late edition of TND. Check your local listings to see when it airs in your city. We are following breaking news out of Los Angeles tonight. 2 sheriff's deputies are in critical condition right now after a fire broke out at a training facility. It took hours for firefighters to get it under control. They said live rounds being stored at the training center forced firefighters to be cautious battling the blaze. No word on exactly what started that fire. And happening today, House Republicans are taking the first formal step in filling the vacant speaker position. Louisiana Representative Steve Scalise and Ohio's Jim Jordan making their case to fellow lawmakers today. Tonight, it appears the party conference is split. Scalise has the support of some moderates, while Jordan comes with former President Donald Trump's endorsement for the job. A GOP candidate only needs a simple majority to become the speaker, meaning they need at least 217 Republican votes. Tomorrow, lawmakers are expected to hold an internal vote to determine which candidate has more support. But there's no formal House vote on the schedule as of right now, and the House can't conduct any official business until that position is filled. New details tonight in former President Trump's civil fraud trial. His former finance chief took the stand today. Prosecutors asked Alan Weisselberg about property records dating back to the 90s. He confirmed their authenticity, but said he only became aware of discrepancies in 2016. New York's Attorney General accused the former president of falsifying records about his wealth to get more favorable loan terms. The Wall Street Journal reporter who's been in a Russian jail now for 6 months will remain behind bars through until at least the end of November. This after a Russian court rejected his appeal. Evan Gershkovich was detained in March while on a reporting trip east of Moscow. Russian authorities say he engaged in espionage. Gershkovich and the Journal deny those allegations. U.S. officials have said they are pursuing a prisoner swap, but warns it could be months before any such deal is made. And tonight, some new shocking video we're just getting into our newsroom from San Francisco. A car ramming into the Chinese consulate, crashing into the lobby and sending people running. The suspect was shot and killed by responding officers. Police haven't shared what led up to the shooting or any possible motive in the case. We are continuing to follow a breaking news out of Israel, what the State Department is now doing in an attempt to get more Americans out of the country. And a new poll now showing the 2024 race could be the closest yet. Which key battleground state shows Biden and Trump locked in a dead heat? Still to come, some high-risk cancer patients are turning to a new form of preventative care. We're going to explain how precision medicine works and why it's so effective. Breaking tonight, the State Department says it has been in close contact with some of the world's biggest airlines, encouraging them to consider resuming travel into and out of Israel. A spokesperson said they've been in contact with several American citizens who are trying to get out of the country but have no way to return to the U.S. American Airlines, Delta, and United have all suspended service, and almost every European-based airline has done the same. Across the country, Jewish community centers and synagogues are on heightened alert following these attacks. The National Desk's Angela Brown spoke with the National Association of Police about the possible threat inside America.
Releasing a report there's no credible threat from Hamas to the U.S. homeland, but law enforcement not taking any chances. Our team in Salt Lake City reporting Jewish synagogues across Utah forced to evacuate Sunday morning due to bomb threats. Sergeant Bessie Smith, spokesperson for the National Police Association.
We have got to go back to an immediate post 9/11-01 atmosphere in American law enforcement.
New York City has the largest Jewish population in the world outside of Israel. New York's governor increasing surveillance at all possible Jewish targets on Sunday.
Immediately, we deployed our state police to be activated.
New Jersey's Attorney General also announcing law enforcement will increase patrols. The mayor of Houston, Texas, enhancing security measures at synagogue and other potential venues. Jonathan Greenblatt, CEO of the Anti-Defamation League.
Think about that world where a Jewish community center has to fortify itself like a fortress because of fear of attacks from people who hate Jews. All this while they're still counting the bodies in Israel. It's a terrible situation.
The National Police Association also warning threats could be more widespread.
The type of attacks that we may see won't just be on a synagogue or a Jewish school, but it could be anything that is perceived to be extremely American.
Possible new threats coming at the same time anti-Semitism is rising right here in the U.S. The ADL says incidents are up 36% in 2022. Reporting in Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
Angela, thank you. Exactly 1 week after gunfire erupted on the campus of Morgan State University, injuring 5, the suspects responsible remain at large. A $9,000 reward is now being offered for tips that lead to the arrest of 2 individuals seen here in this surveillance video that police believe were involved with that shooting. Yet a point of good news, the 5 young people shot, 4 of which were students, have since been released from the hospital. Students, meantime, returning to the Baltimore campus yesterday for classes with extra security, counseling, and support services on hand. A dentist accused of poisoning his wife, now scheduled to go on trial next April. James Tolliver Craig faces first-degree murder charges. The Colorado dentist is accused of putting arsenic in his wife's protein shakes. Police say Angela Craig died in March after being hospitalized a few times for severe headaches, dizziness, and ultimately a seizure. Small business optimism is fading. That's according to a new report from the National Federation of Independent Business, showing that the optimism index fell in September, making it the 21st month in a row with the index below a nearly 50-year average. The number of companies expecting better business conditions, those also decreased. Well, we have reporters all across the country in your specific neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We are taking the pulse of America.
Dozens of tents have popped up outside the Riverton Park United Methodist Church as hundreds of migrants seek shelter. The church has created shelter both inside and outside for the migrants that have been coming from Venezuela in South America and Angola in Africa. All of them are legally seeking asylum in this country. Tukwula's Mayor Alan Eckberg declared a state of emergency after church officials shared how challenging it's been meeting the needs of the people here, including children and infants. In a written statement, the mayor says addressing the needs of asylum seekers is bigger than one city and requires leadership and support from King County, the state of Washington, and the federal government.
Lawmakers are rushing to bring tax relief to fire victims in California ahead of the tax filing deadline next week. They sent a letter to the IRS to ask for a filing extension to next April. They're also pushing for legislation that would prevent wildfire settlement funds from being taxed.
I would like to see them maybe try to instead of taking tax dollars away from us, maybe adding to our community, helping us rebuild our community. It's wrong for them to do that.
One congressman said postponing the filing deadline should give them enough time to pass the measure.
Columbus Day controversy
should not be on a pedestal being glorified.
As hundreds of people celebrated the unveiling of the Christopher Columbus statue in Johnston, 2 protesters made their opinions known.
This statue celebrates the atrocities of Columbus. We don't believe in making Italian Americans synonymous with Columbus.
I'm proud of white people and what they've accomplished.
I think the overwhelming majority of people are okay with this. I think just kind of like everything else, there's a loud vocal minority of people who are against it. But I'm glad the majority showed up today.
And this just in, a look at a hypothetical 2024 matchup between former President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden in the battleground state of Nevada. A new CNN poll putting them in a dead heat. Take a look at this right here. 46% for Biden, 45% for Trump. This poll mirrors the tight race we're seeing all across the country in those national polls, signaling a repeat of the 2020 presidential election. In 2020, Biden won Nevada by just over 2 percentage points. He is a former professional baseball player, and now he's a candidate for senator in California. Steve Garvey, who played for both the Dodgers and the Padres, launched his campaign today vying for the seat previously held by late Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein. He's running on the Republican ticket against at least 5 others already in the race. If he wins, he'll be the first Republican senator in the state since 1988. Well, the genetic testing company 23andMe is requiring all users to reset their passwords out of caution after hackers obtained some users' data last week. A sample posted on the dark web for sale contained alleged data of 1 million users of Jewish Ashkenazi descent. Another user claimed to have data of 100,000 Chinese users. The company isn't calling it a data breach. And tonight we are taking a deeper look into a new form of cancer prevention. We're going to go inside precision medicine and how it's protecting those high-risk patients. Stay with us. During this Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a wife and mother says learning more about your own risk can help you save your life. Medical reporter Liz Bonus explains how it's all part of what's called precision medicine.
Hey there, hello to you. Precision medicine allows you to make specific health decisions based on your own personal health risks. For one woman, that led to a very courageous decision.
Fitness enthusiast Paula Holbrook, who knew breast cancer could be life-altering.
My mom passed away when I was 7, so she had breast cancer. It had spread. And then my sister was diagnosed around 34, 35.
Chose to alter her life in a different way. She chose to have a prophylactic surgery.
It's surgery before you get cancer and to prevent cancer. So for breast, doing a mastectomy, so removing your breast tissue.
Breast cancer surgical oncologist Dr. B. Saito of Ohio's Christ Hospital told me it can take a woman's risks, such as Paula's, that's as high as 80%.
Down to about as 2 to 5%.
Paula had recently learned her risk after genetic testing and counseling with precision medicine genetic counselor Corey Fabello.
When a patient selects their test, whether it be comprehensive or focused, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks.
For Paula, that simple blood test told her not only did she have
the highest risk is breast cancer and then ovarian cancer too.
So this young wife and mother who had choices from early screening to medication to lower risk.
I know a lot of people don't want to know. It is daunting. It's scary. But the alternative is even scarier.
Not only says she is glad she chose prophylactic surgery before a cancer diagnosis, but also
I made the decision to not undergo reconstruction the night before my surgery.
When I asked her about her husband's reaction,
he loves me for me, not for, my anatomy, so to speak.
cool guy.
Yeah, he's a keeper.
Now, if you think you're a candidate for genetic testing to lead you into what you need to know about your personal health and precision medicine, talk to a women's health specialist. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. Back to you.
Liz, thank you. The U.S. blood supply has reached critically low levels, according to the American Red Cross. Weather disasters and a busy travel season have contributed to the problem. The Red Cross says high schools and colleges are also not organizing as many blood drives as they used to, and it's now asking schools to host them more often. Well, still to come, if you commute to the office every day, you could be adding more than $1,000 to your expenses. What a new survey says is the most expensive part of office life. Well, it is that time of year. Amazon's Fall Prime Day event is going on today and tomorrow. The Prime Big Deal Days sale is exclusive to Prime members. Amazon usually holds Prime Days in July, but they've been adding Fall Prime Days in recent years. You can find discounts on a wide variety of items like Kindles, TVs, appliances, decor, and clothing. Very dangerous stuff there. Don't get too carried away. Employees who have returned to the office full time, they are paying a whole lot to get there. An annual State of Work survey found people spend about $51 every single day that they're in the office. On average, that breaks down to $14 on commuting, $8 on parking, $13 for coffee and breakfast, and $16 on lunch. People in the office every day reported spending about $1,000 more every month than their work from home counterparts. Hybrid workers fell in the middle with about $400 in extra spending. And take a look at this. You're looking at the largest pumpkin in the world right now, weighing in at 2,749 pounds. This gourd has set the record, winning the 50th championship pumpkin weigh-off in Half Moon Bay, California. When the owner of this beauty asked how he did it, he said he watered his crops, about 12 times a day. That's dedication. If you're wondering how many pumpkin pies this thing can produce, 687. That's enough for you to eat a whole pie every day for nearly 2 years. That does it for this edition of the National Desk. We do invite you to join us again this evening for more coverage on America's top stories. Just check your local listings. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching.